We take a moment for spiritual expression. The bells have rung, the clarion call has sounded, and we've created an ingathering, a convocation, an assemblage of those in earned colors and stripes which symbolize our struggle with and our studies in the pursuit of truth, knowledge, and the understanding of life. We reflect for a moment upon those we have come to praise and to honor. And this whole experience becomes a hymn of praise for the generous gift of life. In Hebrew we say, Shehechianu, V'kiyamanu, V'higianu, Lazman Hazeh, for being kept alive and sustained and brought to this magnificent occasion. Praise for the presence of loved ones, the bonds of friendships made, the linkage of memories which will be treasured. Praise for the freedom to struggle and to search. What are we? What our goodness? What our power? What our responsibility? What our privilege? And what is the meaning of life anyway? Praise for our dedication to the endless search for truth and meaning. Praise for the vision which we see within ourselves of a better world for all people, to keep a pursuit for peace before us forever. Praise for ennobling aspirations. Praise for the precious moorings of faith, for courageous souls who walked here before us, for prophets and poets and artists and scientists and psalmists and sages. Praise for those who cherish the dream, a better day, a better life, peace on earth, and the expression of goodwill to each other. The promise and the faith with which we will all face and build tomorrow. And we say, Amen.
Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, opening to the sun above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of night away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. All thy works rejoice around thee, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, center of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, cloudy meadow, flashing sea, chanting bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee.
I want to welcome you to the 163rd commencement of DePauw University. To the senior class, one can say there are numerous experiences which you will remember from your senior year at DePauw. Some of these are remembrances other classes share. Others are quite different. You will remember the university changes during your senior year. All the dust, today the mud, and the noise from all the construction, the expansion of the Julian Science and Math Center, the new art building, and the beginning of the social center. When you come back for your reunions, DePauw will be a different looking place, and you will recall that you were here when it started. If as a senior you were interested in athletics, in this very building you witnessed the tremendous success of many of our athletic teams, especially the women's and men's basketball seasons. But as you think back over your senior year, two occasions are probably defining moments in your career at DePauw. The tragic events of September 11 and the spring fire in Rector Hall. In the aftermath of 9/11, your class resolved to find out who within the DePauw family lost loved ones in New York or Washington. You held prayer vigils when the events were initially beyond our comprehension. You attended discussion groups to help sort out just how and why such a tragedy could occur. Many of you helped make certain that the American flag did fly on our campus as a symbol of our country's stand for freedom and our stand against terrorism. You heard numerous voices, your class, from outside our community, people like Robert Gates and former British Prime Minister John Major, come to campus to help us try to understand the world as we were newly experiencing it. A second event you will remember the rest of your lives occurred on April 7 when the fire broke out in Rector Hall on Sunday morning. At first, we simply expressed our thanks that no one was hurt. But then you and your classmates quickly organized, as you always do, to support one another and provide as smooth a transition as possible for your classmates directly affected by the fire. As this year's Walker Cup winner, Becky Hedge, has stated, DePauw students are a focused group, and focused you were on the needs of the campus. You provided clothing and shelter for so many residents who lost so much. As you sit here today, you probably feel much joy and some anxiety. Joy over the fact that you have accomplished what you set out to do 4 years ago, and some bit of anxiety over the world in which you will immerse yourself. Society continues to face old issues not solved, phenomena still with us as faced other classes like racism and poverty and homophobia, and now a new issue previously unknown to us, terrorism within our own borders. But if these problems are ever to be solved, it will take the knowledge you have acquired at DePauw, along with your desire to speak out and to work to alleviate these problems. We are pleased that while you were at DePauw, many of you have already started down this path. You have helped one another after the fire, and you have spoken out against injustice. Individuals can make a difference, and the individuals we honor with honorary degrees this day have made a difference. Elaine Chao has worked for a better world as head of the Peace Corps. Nancy Ford Charles has used her musical talent to encourage us to take charge of our lives. Noreen Johnson has used her education to improve health services to all Americans. And Jack McQuethy has used his talent not only to assist young journalists, but also to make certain that we are well informed. And the final honorary degree candidate, Glenn Swisher, has used his success in business to anonymously help so many DePauw students. In fact, I would say to you in the senior class, if you are one of those many students who came up short from time to time and received a grant from the president's office for some special need, whether it was foreign study or other unpredicted needs, that money came from Mr. Swisher. Today, I wish two things for you. I hope you have a good time now that we are finally in a safe, warm place. Enjoy this celebration. You've earned it. And secondly, as have our honorary degree candidates, I hope you will use your education and your talent to make the world a better and safer place. While we gather together to congratulate you, members of the senior class, on your academic accomplishments, we would also like to recognize a very special group of people, your families. Your families are proud of you today, and your education would not have been possible without their support. I would like to ask the families of this year's graduating class to please stand so that we can salute you with our applause. I would now like to call on Rebecca Hedge to bring you greetings on behalf of her class. Becky is the recipient of the Walker Cup, DePauw's award made annually to that member of the senior class who has done the most for the university during her or his 4 years here. Becky is a communications, arts, and science major. While attending DePauw, she has served as a DePauw Year One mentor. She has co-authored with student colleagues and faculty an article for the Journal of Chemical Education. She has been a research assistant in the chemistry department. She has used her DePauw experience to provide her several internships, and she's been a most active DePauw volunteer. Everyone who knows Becky knows that she has worked tirelessly for Relay for Life. She co-chaired Putnam County's Relay for Life in 2001 and was a member of the National Planning Committee for the 2002 Relay for Life Youth Summit. She is an outstanding young woman, and I call on Becky now.
Good afternoon. I could talk to you today about the values of a liberal arts education, or about the opportunities that we have all had the last 4 years. However, we have all had such different experiences that to tell you what you should do with your education or your opportunities would be foolish. Instead, I would like to talk about something that I feel many of us maybe have overlooked. Until recently, I had not realized how many role models I have had while attending DePauw. I realize role models aren't something that we normally think about, but take a moment to reflect on those people that have affected the last 4 years of your life. I think of role models as people I look up to, learn from, and ultimately can become a better person from having known. Given that definition, it is easy for us to underestimate ourselves and think we will never be anyone else's role model. Yet as I reflect on my own role models, each has contributed to who I am today, and did so most likely without ever knowing it. One example of a role model is my RA freshman year, who assured me that he got through 4 years at DePauw, and I would too. Or the music students I met, who amazed me with their friendship and talent. A role model is a friend who helped me learn to fight for what I believe in as we embarked on a journey to keep the Speaking and Listening Center open. A role model is the professor who knew how badly I wanted to be a chemistry major, yet helped me recognize my potential in other disciplines. A role model is a friend who guided me through 4 years of college while teaching me how life really works, and in the meantime became the big sister that I never had. A role model is the person who taught me about living life to its fullest, and at the same time taught me why everyone should want to be from Minnesota. A role model is also DePauw alum Frank W. Braden, a successful businessman who spent his life working hard and then generously donated his estate to DePauw which has thus far provided scholarships for 24 students, including myself, to attend DePauw University. It is Mr. Braden's giving and generous nature that makes him a role model for all of us. These are just some of the people that have positively affected my life. For you, they may be coaches, professors, or the amazing people you met while studying abroad. Each of us have these special people in our lives, and it is important to identify our role models because they can offer wisdom and insight in times of need. I never realized the impact these people had on my life until I received notes from 2 different friends who told me that I had been one of their role models during their time at DePauw. The notes mean more to me than they will ever know because it reminded me that while we are all busy trying to make a difference in the world through community service and studying abroad, that it is the everyday interactions we have with the people around us and our community that truly makes each one of us a role model. They may never tell you about the difference that you have had on their life, but you must know that you have made an impact. Remember the words of a wise person who said, "To the world, you may be one person, but to one person, you may be the world." I learned the truth in this quote during my study abroad in Australia, when for the first time, I was able to reflect on what my DePauw experiences meant, as well as to remember the people who I will think of often after today. I want to thank those who have been role models for me, and as we start a new chapter in our lives, I challenge you to take time today and say thank you to those who have made a difference in your life at DePauw. They are the people who have made our 4 years unique and unforgettable. I wish you all the best.
Elaine Chao is a name recognized by many, many people across America. She currently serves as Secretary of Labor. Secretary Chao received her undergraduate degree from Mount Holyoke College and her MBA from Harvard Business School. She has also studied at MIT, Dartmouth, and Columbia. Many of us first heard her name when she was director of the Peace Corps. Among her many initiatives at the Peace Corps was the establishment of the first Peace Corps in the Baltic nations and the newly independent states of the former Soviet Union. After leaving the Peace Corps in 1992, she served for 4 years as President and Chief Executive Officer of the United Way of America. You will recall that she was recruited to lead the organization to recovery after nationwide coverage of financial mismanagement and abuse by the previous management. And under her leadership, reforms were instituted and public trust and confidence was returned. Today, Secretary Chao serves as the 24th Secretary of Labor. In her position, she works to ensure that laws governing the workplace are more flexible for working people. She's an articulate champion of a productive workforce in which everyone can participate, where jobs and opportunities are available for all those leaving welfare, and job training is available for those left behind. She strongly feels that disability should never bar a qualified person from the workplace, and she has sought to create a workplace where parents have an easier time balancing the responsibilities of work and home. Secretary Chao, we welcome you to DePauw on this, our commencement day.
Thank you, President Bottoms, for that nice introduction. You know, it is wonderful to go around campus and see all the new construction on campus. You are offering tremendous leadership to the university. Well, graduating seniors, that time is coming near. Parents, trustees, faculty, friends, and family, I am so delighted to be with you. You know, I love commencements. They're always such joyous occasions, and there's such an excitement in the air, and always there's such expectations and such hope. I want to congratulate the honorary degree recipients. I've had a chance to meet them, and you've got a great array of honorary degree recipients. They're fantastic. And Rebecca, what loving words you have given us. We want to thank you so much as well. Now, some of you may not know this, but I'm actually from Kentucky. So I have to say a special hello to my fellow Kentuckians who are graduating today as well. Now, I'm a Southern girl, so I don't know too much about the Midwest. I've lived on the East Coast and the West Coast, but I have heard so many wonderful things about DePauw. In fact, from two people on my staff. One is Chris Iverson, who serves as the Assistant Secretary for Congressional and Intergovernmental Affairs at the Department of Labor. She is a proud DePauw alumna, and she never lets us forget it either. There's another top member of the Department of Labor team who also has close connections to this fine school, and his name is Ken Finley. He's the Deputy Secretary, the number 2. And his father is Dr. Donald Finley, who serves on your Board of Trustees. So Dr. Finley, your commitment to DePauw is well known, and it was a pleasure to meet you and Mrs. Finley this weekend as well. Indeed, DePauw is one of the nation's top liberal arts universities. You've been written up in lots of magazines and rating lists, and you have also a lot of illustrious alumni, one of which actually is former Vice President Dan Quayle, with whom I had the privilege of serving in Bush 1. But you've had a wonderful education here at DePauw. Your liberal arts education has given you an avenue to advancement, if you so choose. It will open many doors, if you so choose. It is completely up to you. Your future, in fact, is up to you. But your university experience and education here has also given you something else, and that is a responsibility. A responsibility not just to be a good citizen and pay your taxes and obey the law, but rather a responsibility to lead. And one of the most impressive things that I've learned about your school is your outstanding tradition of community service. As you have heard, I was the former head of the Peace Corps and later President and CEO of United Way of America. And so the spirit of volunteerism in America is a very, very important and touchstone value for me. My professional experience in volunteer and charitable organizations arose out of my own experience as an immigrant to this country. That time in my early life helped me to realize in a very personal way the great value of sharing and giving to your neighbor and your community. When my family and I arrived here in America, I was only 8 years old. We didn't speak any English, and we were not familiar with any of the American customs. We left behind everything that was near and dear to us, our families, our friends, my schooling, and our tradition and our culture and our food. And during those difficult days when we were trying to understand America and trying to adapt to this new country, it was the kindness and the helping hands of strangers who soon became our neighbors and our friends that helped to smooth our transition. It was indeed through service to our neighbors and the neighbors' kindness to us that we found our way in this new country. And in fact, as I mentioned, it was this momentum of a million acts of kindness and decency that characterizes who we are as Americans. The horrible, horrific attacks on our country of September 11th remind us of the value of our freedom and liberty, and also of our ties to one another as Americans. It also opened our hearts to a new spirit of service in America, one that asks, what can I do to help? And in response to this national question, at his State of the Union address this past January, President George W. Bush established the USA Freedom Corps. The president called upon every American to commit at least 2 years or 4,000 hours over the rest of our lifetime to the service of our neighbors, our communities, and our nation. And since his call to service, more than 29,000 Americans have volunteered with the new Citizen Corps, and applications for AmeriCorps and also Peace Corps have gone up dramatically as well. More Americans are learning every day the value of community service. And in fact, you are a wonderful example of that. DePauw's Hartman Center for Civic Education is a monument to it, and I know that as DePauw students, you've been encouraged to give of yourself throughout your career here. And now, as you leave the safe havens of this university, it's time to think about carrying a commitment to service forward into your postgraduate life. The habit of service that you have formed here at DePauw, through DePauw Community Service, Winter Term in Service, the Bonner Scholars Program, and Alternative Spring Break, are as important to our nation's future as the knowledge you've acquired in the classrooms here. Not only that, but you should know that your university's lasting legacy will be through building leaders such as yourselves. You will not only serve, you will need to lead. And we need your generation of can-do Americans. So I hope as you leave, I hope you'll take the time, make a commitment to sharing your time and your talents. Share whatever you've learned wherever you go. And make good of your good intentions. Over 85% of this country's graduating college seniors plan to donate money, clothes, or food to a community or religious organization. And 6 out of every 10 young adults plan to volunteer with a similar group. My hopes are high that you will follow through on these plans. After all, more than 45% of those graduating from college this year already volunteer more than 17 hours a month. To those of you who are involved already in this community, who are part of the 45% right now, I want to thank you. We're grateful for your work. The Greencastle community is better off as a result, and America is stronger as well. But there's still a lot to do, and there's a need for every volunteer. If you have accounting skills, you can help small community college organizations with their finances. If you have marketing inclinations or community communication skills, you can help with fundraising or development with nonprofit groups. If you're good with your hands, you can build or repair community centers or people's homes. If you have an interest in healthcare, you can help in a clinic. You have a unique opportunity to make a real impact in our country, our world, and a chance to make your generation the new, greatest generation. You will do that in thousands of different ways, but I challenge you, as you think about how you impact and change your community, to think about changing your country and your world one heart at a time. 21% of young people who choose to serve say that they do so because it makes a difference. Well, they couldn't be more right. When you change a person's life, you're changing the world. Now, most people also say that they volunteer because they were asked to. And so, this afternoon, I'm here to ask you to volunteer to serve your community, your nation, and your country. As a graduate of this university, you are already part of a great tradition of service. My hope is that you will join a long national tradition of service as well. So I leave you with a few key thoughts as you carry on this tradition. First, community service is not an item on a list to be checked off. Like a long-term commitment to your physical health, it's a long-term commitment to your spiritual health and the health of the world in which you live. It's not something that you do for public consumption, but because it is something that is right and good for our world. 2, I think you should get rid of the notion that somehow dealing with big problems, really big problems, like peace in the Middle East or eradicating hunger, is somehow more noble than something like helping one child to read. All acts of kindness are great. 3, the only way that freedom and opportunity can prosper in our world is when we take responsibility, not only for our actions, but to take care of our neighbors as well. Well, each of you have been blessed with freedom because generations before you have sacrificed so much, and now it is your turn. a nation that depends solely on its government to establish order, enforce good behaviors, or to be the exclusive provider of services or benefits is a nation that has lost its moral grounding. The First Lady on her European trip this past week told a conference of Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development that a lasting victory in the war against terrorism depends on educating the world's children, because educated children are much more likely to embrace the values that defeat terror. If citizens are educated around the world, that will help us fight terrorism. And as the President also said, to fight terrorism, we should fight terrorism with good, with acts of kindness. So as you venture forward, never forget to use your life not only to do well, but also to do good. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
The commencement ritual will now begin, and I call on Judson Green, the chair of the DePauw University Board of Trustees, to assist me. Mr. Green, these persons have been recommended by the faculty as having met all conditions for graduation from DePauw University. I therefore ask you, Mr. Green, as the chair of the Board of Trustees, to authorize me to advance them to their degrees.
Mr. President, the Board of Trustees of DePauw University, by its unanimous vote, now authorizes you to confer degrees upon all candidates, including honorary degrees, Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Musical Arts, Bachelor of Music Education, and Bachelor of Arts.
I would now like to call on Dr. Neil Abram to present the candidates for honorary degrees.
Mr. President, it is my honor and privilege to present Elaine L. Chao, an officer of the Cabinet of the President of the United States, who has made her own singular contributions to volunteerism in our country, for the degree of Doctor of Public Service.
Elaine L. Chao. You have exemplified the highest ideals of service, leadership, and volunteerism through your efforts in national and international humanitarian and philanthropic pursuits. As the leader of the United Way of America and as a leader of the Peace Corps, you validated for all of us the worth and satisfaction of giving back to our communities through one's personal labor, expertise, and sacrifice. From your arrival in America as an 8-year-old fleeing communist China with your parents, to your contribution and service as Secretary of Labor and the first Asian American woman in the United States Cabinet, your journey is in many ways an American success story. In these times, when many people are marginalized by barriers of gender, culture, class, race, or physical disability, your accomplishments celebrate the potential for success and achievement. DePauw University, with our long history of volunteerism and community service, is proud to honor you as a servant leader. Upon the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees has authorized me to confer upon you, Elaine L. Chao, the honorary degree of Doctor of Public Service. And as a symbol thereof, I invest you with this hood and hand you this diploma bearing the Great Seal of the corporation and the signatures of the proper officials.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Mr. President, I have the further honor to present Nancy Ford Charles, a 1957 DePauw graduate who has contributed her creative talents to the American musical theater for the degree of Doctor of Fine Arts.
Nancy Ford Charles, your talents as a composer, performer, and writer have contributed to the enjoyment and entertainment of theater audiences and of television viewers for more than a quarter of a century. Your love of the American popular song resonates in the scores you have created for musical theater and the cabaret. During your days as a DePauw music student, you participated in many university productions. This devotion to your craft and the joy of sharing it have continued throughout your alumni years to the delight of many who have listened at reunion gatherings, including the proud and triumphant audience at the gala closing our campaign for DePauw. The title of I'm Getting My Act Together and Taking It on the Road, first produced in 1978, has been adopted to celebrate the reclaiming of one's dreams and taking charge of one's own destiny. You are a testament to the brave artist who dares to pursue creative talent as a way of life. So upon the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees has authorized me to confer upon you, Nancy Ford Charles, the honorary degree of Doctor of Fine Arts. As a symbol thereof, I invest you with this hood and hand you this diploma bearing the Great Seal of the corporation and the signatures of the proper officials.
Thank you, President Bottoms. Now I have one more reason to be grateful to DePauw. Recently, when I was visiting my mother at her retirement center in Kalamazoo, an elderly gentleman came up to me and congratulated me on this degree that I was about to receive. And I said to him, well, I hope it'll make me smarter. And he said, oh, it won't, but it'll look good in your obituary. Well, I hadn't been giving much thought to my obituary up till then, but it has been nearly a half century since I first set foot on the DePauw campus. My father had driven me down from Kalamazoo for an interview at the admissions office and an audition for a scholarship in the School of Music. It was a perfect spring Saturday, just the kind of day we wish today were. And everywhere on campus there were smiling, friendly faces. After my interview, I was taken to Lucy Rowland Hall to have lunch with a group of girls whose special DePauw brand of warmth and enthusiasm were so captivating that I just decided then and there that whether I got the scholarship or not, DePauw was the only place for me. I had no idea at the time what a very important decision I was making for my life, because besides the excellent academic foundation and formal music training DePauw provided, there is not one area of my career that was not in some way directly or indirectly affected by my DePauw associations. From getting my Actors Equity card when I went with a group of classmates to be in summer stock in Louisville, Kentucky, to my most recent adventures in the cabaret world, which came about because Jane Allison, class of '37, heard me perform at an alumni event in New York. Even my very first professional theater audition in New York was arranged by a DePauw alum. But the biggest gift of all DePauw gave me was my collaborator in writing for the musical theater, my classmate, Gretchen Kiger-Cryer. While we were at DePauw, there was an annual show called the Monon Review. So Gretchen and I had the opportunity to have two of our shows produced in a protected atmosphere here, where we received the kind of positive reinforcement that led us to believe that we could make a career of it. Most of the music that I have written has been inspired by Gretchen's and ideas and lyrics for the 11 musicals that we've collaborated on. I probably would not be standing here today if we had not met and collaborated on those Monon reviews here. I'm very grateful to have been able to serve on the boards of visitors and trustees here, and I cherish the many DePauw friends with whom I've stayed in touch over the years. I was blessed with parents, like many of yours I'm sure, who appreciated the arts and nurtured the talent that they thought I had. And for the last 38 years, I've been blessed with a husband who has been a helpmate to me in the truest sense. Writing for the theater has given me joys and satisfactions, but there are also times of frustration and disappointment. And the critics and the audiences don't always agree on when you've gotten it right. So it's especially gratifying to receive this kind of recognition, especially from an institution that I value so highly. I've not accomplished everything that I hope to, but I'm not through trying, and I intend to make sure that my obituary is longer than my current biography. Thank you for this honor. I will try to be worthy of it.
You don't want to take that with you?
Mr. President, I am honored to present Noreen G. Johnson, a 1957 DePauw graduate who has served with distinction as the president of the largest professional organization of psychologists and is an advocate for improved health delivery services for all, for the degree of Doctor of Science.
Noreen G. Johnson, your service to and advocacy for the plight of the ill has drawn attention to the need for improved medical and mental health services. You believe in the right of every patient to the best possible care. You are a respected psychologist with a particular interest in child mental health, and you have devoted many years to studying children, often those with neurological disorders. Noting that the managed care system contradicts a growing body of research which underscores the strong connections between the body and the mind, you have called upon your peers, upon the healthcare industry and our national government to treat the whole patient, body and mind, as a whole equation that cannot be separated. As American Psychological Association President, on September 11, 2001, you marshaled its membership of 160,000 psychologists into action to provide comfort to a nation of citizens beset by trauma, chaos, and devastation. Your commitment to the goals of providing sound mental and physical health practices for the treatment of individuals, families, and children has been acknowledged by the President and the Surgeon General of the United States. Upon the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees has authorized me to confer upon you, Noreen G. Johnson, the honorary degree of Doctor of Science. As a symbol thereof, I invest you with this hood and hand you this diploma bearing the Great Seal of the corporation and the signatures of the proper officials.
I want to say, are you talking about me? On this celebratory day in Greencastle, Indiana, I want to extend my congratulations to all the new graduates and to their families. And I want to express my appreciation to President Bottoms and the Board of Trustees for this honor they've bestowed on me today. I also want to thank my family who are here, my husband, Wayne Woodleaf, my daughter, Margaret Johnson, and oldest grandson, Max Johnson Fraden, and Sarah Fraden. I've enjoyed every day of my career as a psychologist. Psychology is an intellectually stimulating and satisfying science and profession, and psychology has made major contributions to positive changes in social and health policy. And I thank DePauw University, and especially the psychology faculty, for providing me with an atmosphere of scholarship, stimulating and challenging conversation, and for showing confidence in me as someone who could and would make a difference in this world. I appreciate the friends I made here for the good times, the values, and the opportunity to grow up with them. I was on the campus at the cusp of significant social change, just as you graduates are. In 1957, we were seeing the beginnings of the radical changes in gender and ethnic racial issues that would dominate the 60s and 70s. And now we face the changes of an uncertain world rocked by September 11th. On September 11th, as president of the American Psychological Association, I had the responsibility and privilege of providing leadership following the terrorist attack on our country. Thousands of psychologists stepped forward to help in communities throughout the United States. I was on CNN and Good Morning America sharing psychological knowledge about stress and how to build resilience. DePauw was the beginning of my learning about the responsibility of leadership and community service. Each of you has the skills, the intellect, the values to make a significant contribution to the world. Many of you have engaged in community service during your time at DePauw. And someday, as you look back, you will realize, as I do, how much your years at DePauw helped form that total person you are.
Mr. President, I have the further honor to present John F. McWethy, a 1969 DePauw graduate who has employed his talents as a gifted writer and his acute skills of observation in his commentary on national and world events for the degree of Doctor of Journalism.
John F. McWethy, for nearly a quarter century, you have observed the course of current events in one of the key media of our times. As national security correspondent for ABC News, you have added insightful commentary to the electronic chronicles of the world and domestic affairs that warrant the attention of an informed citizenry. From the Iran hostage crisis in 1979 to the tragic Oklahoma City bombing to the terrorist hours in the fall of 2001, your measured, lucid analysis is among the highest quality available. For more than a decade, you have been assigned to the U.S. State Department. You have interviewed many political leaders of our nation and the world. Following the tenures of Secretaries of State James Baker and George Shultz, you have traveled to more than 50 countries. You have also been an important part of the DePauw newspaper's 150-year lineage of student journalists and editors. You are a product of the study in the liberal arts. Your well-perfected writing skills and the hunger for a story have caused you to become a journalist of the first order. As a loyal supporter of the university, you have returned to campus to share your perspectives on your field and to advise the next generation of alumni writers. You are a model of integrity, decency, and credibility for your professional colleagues and for DePauw students. Upon the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees has authorized me to confer upon you, John F. McWethy, the honorary degree of Doctor of Journalism. As a symbol thereof, I invest you with this hood and hand you this diploma bearing the great seal of the corporation and the signatures of the proper officials. Congratulations, Chao.
President Bottoms, graduates, almost graduates, parents who have supported your kids here, I never would have dreamed that writing my last story for the DePauw would have ended up helping me hone skills that would take me around the world, from this campus in Greencastle to all the different countries I've had the privilege of stepping onto, giving me a front row seat to 3 decades of history, 7 presidents, covering the collapse of the Soviet Union, the war in the Persian Gulf, and take me to some of the nastiest places on the planet, Mogadishu in Somalia, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, the Tora Bora region of Afghanistan, all to help learn about what the conflict is all about. If you had told me while I was sitting in my geology class here at DePauw that I would one day be writing stories from Antarctica about global warming and glaciology, about the last Apollo mission to the moon, I would have laughed in your face. No way was the geology that I was learning relevant to anything in the world. Well, guess what? I never would have dreamed when I was questioning the war in Vietnam here on this campus in Greencastle that I would end up spending decades covering American conflict overseas, that I would be shot at in Somalia, in Bosnia, in Liberia, as I tried to better understand the roots of these conflicts that were involving our nation. And finally, I certainly would not have imagined that I would one day be sitting in the Pentagon doing my job when the building shook and an airliner ripped into the side of that building, changing our country forever. On the day of my graduation, perhaps the only person happier to see me leave this campus than I was may have been DePauw's president at that time. He was no big fan of my editorial writing and my repertorial exercises for the DePauw. That's why I am especially touched today to be honored by this great university that helped prepare me for the adventure that awaits every one of you when you walk out the door here. Whatever you think you're going to do, trust me, it won't be what you will end up doing. And I know you're itching to get out of here. The one thing I do remember about my graduation day was sitting out there, sort of zoning in and out of paying attention to the speakers and wondering, when is this windbag going to stop talking? Well, the answer in this case is right now. Thank you.
Mr. President, it is my honor and privilege to present Glenn M. Swisher, longtime civic leader and philanthropist who supports medical research and the goals of higher education in our state and region, for the degree of Doctor of Humanities.
Glenn M. Swisher, your generous philanthropy has helped sustain life-saving medical research and provided increased educational opportunities to deserving college students. As a child of the Depression, your personal drive, persistence, and integrity, coupled with years of hard work, were your personal prescription for success and achievement. Your dedication to the growth of a single company and the development of a creative, dependable, and effective workforce resulted in professional credibility, industry respect, and considerable financial return to your organization. Recognizing a calling to help other people, you established the Swisher Foundation, through which you have enriched the possibilities for so many. Your career and your continued charitable efforts challenge our institution and students, today and in the future, to appreciate the gifts and benefits of a liberal arts education and to employ outcomes in socially responsible ways. Upon the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees has authorized me to confer upon you, Glenn M. Swisher, the honorary degree of Doctor of Humanities. As a symbol thereof, I invest you with this hood and hand you this diploma bearing the great seal of the corporation and the signatures of the proper officials.
As I look out over this vast group of students and their associates, I'm overwhelmed. Memories come flooding back. I'll share one with you that happened about 30 years ago in New York. I was a guest of the Friars Club who were honoring Jack Benny. Mr. Benny was receiving their most prestigious award. In his comments upon acknowledging receipt of this award, he opined, "I don't believe I deserve this award. However, I'm suffering from a severe case of arthritis, and I don't deserve that either." Now, paraphrasing Mr. Benny, perhaps I don't deserve this award, but I have something else that I don't deserve either, and that's a lousy golf swing. I do feel fortunate to be here today, and despite not deserving this award, I wish to thank the faculty and trustees of DePauw for this honorary degree. I think all of us people, especially of us who are residents of Indiana, realize how fortunate we are to have this truly national university in our midst. A university is known by the achievements of the graduates and DePauw, and it has alumni who are leaders of our state, nation, and the whole world. I might give you another example that I recollect back to. In the late 30s and early 40s, you had a student here by the name of Barney Kilgore. He and some associate students graduated, went to New York, picked up a job with a newspaper that seemed to be on its last legs, turned it around, and today it's the leading business publication in the world, the Wall Street Journal. And others who have been successful in that area too are people like Vernon Jordan. He is today listed on the boards of many of the leading corporations and outstanding companies in the world. Also, I would want to take this opportunity to comment and compliment Dr. Bottoms on some of the speakers that you've had here at this university coming out here. And these are people who are world recognized and world renowned, and I might mention that would include Maggie Thatcher, John Major, both prime ministers of Great Britain, Barbara Bush, and David Gergen, who has been advisor to many of our presidents. Through this degree as honorary, I now feel like I have joined the ranks of a distinguished group of alumni who can call DePauw their alma mater. I forgot to mention one other outstanding student that made it big and made it in the big time. I won't mention his name, but he was a pretty bad speller, but he became Vice President of the United States. Thank you very much. I will enjoy, treasure, and hold this degree for as long as I'm alive and still around. Bye-bye.
I would now like to call on Dr. Robert Thayer, Dean of the School of Music, to present the candidates for Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Musical Arts, and Bachelor of Music Education.
Let the candidates for the degrees Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Musical Arts, and Bachelor of Music Education stand. Mr. President, I present to you the candidates for the degrees Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Musical Arts, and Bachelor of Music Education.
On the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees of DePauw University grants to you severally the degrees of Bachelor of Music, Bachelor of Musical Arts, and Bachelor of Music Education, which admits you to the fellowship of educated men and women everywhere. I now, therefore, present to you your official diploma bearing the Great Seal of the corporation and the appropriate signatures.
Will the candidates please remain standing? Katrina Joy Klein. Karel Alexandra Flores. Casey Leanne Goodnight. Stephanie J. Lynn. Robert Thomas Merrill. Amy Nicole Marchand. Kristen Elizabeth Mell. Amanda Jean Sidebottom. Clark Daniel Webb. Brad Thomas Whiteley. Jenny Rebecca Lynn Winans. Jennifer Nicole Barsama. Heather Nicole Booty. Jason Alexander Fry. Christopher Andrew Kegg. Eugene Jimna McGee. Michael Odell Mitchell. Colleen Naomi Paul. Jonathan Vincent Ripley. Christopher Anton Setkoz. Allison Joanna Sklar. David Allen Barbick. Miranda Jean Sissel. Elizabeth Ann Elliott. Luke Matthew Fletcher. Julie Teresa Grancelli. Erin Nicole Gregorsich. Tiffany Marie Ingalls. Erin Mackenzie Johnson. And now, may I, having failed to recognize this, may I also read those who have received Latin honors. Stephanie Jili Ching Lin, summa cum laude. Robert Thomas Merrill, cum laude. Amber Nicole Marchand, magna cum laude. Amanda Jean Sidebottom, magna cum laude. And Tiffany Marie Ingalls, cum laude.
I would now like to call on Dr. Neil Abram, Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of the Faculty, to present the candidates for Bachelor of Arts.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts please stand? Mr. President, it is my honor and pleasure to present to you the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts.
On the recommendation of the faculty, the Board of Trustees of DePauw University grants to you severally the degree of Bachelor of Arts, which admits you to the fellowship of educated men and women everywhere. I now, therefore, present to you your official diploma bearing the Great Seal of the Corporation and the appropriate signatures.
Will the first row of BA candidates please remain standing? Others may be seated. Those persons listed on the program whose names are not called this afternoon will receive their degrees in absentia. Rebecca Jo Hedge. Eric David Assen, magna cum laude. William Polk Alexander. David Kramer Allen. Douglas Robert Alston. Christopher Michael Amidon, magna cum laude. Matthew Aaron Armstrong. Adiba Shoanovna Asadova, cum laude. Lauren Elizabeth Baker, summa cum laude. Joseph Matthew Balin. Jane Hale Bankhurst. Jeffrey Allen Bardonaro. Ashley Janelle Barnett. Jason Clifford Barnett. Sarah Elizabeth Batterton, summa cum laude. Erin Jane Bauer. Robert James Boffman III. Marn Ann Baumeister. Marshall Joseph Baumgartner. Kathleen Elizabeth Bell. Elizabeth Mary Berkshire. Lindsay Marie Blackman. Lindsay Ann Blair. Kathleen Mary Bolin. J.C. Lynn Borcherding. Kimberly Ann Bousquet, cum laude. Matthew Rasier Bowman. Jacob Polani Bracken. Jeffrey Lamar Branson. Emily Marie Brower, magna cum laude. Catherine Victoria Breeding. Crystal Lynn Brick. Melissa Marie Britton. Benjamin Lee Brown. Catherine Ann Brown. Catherine Ann Brown Henry. Joshua Price Buckstein. Richard Manjeri Berglund. Rano Sukrabovna Barkanova. Erin Nicole Canfield. Haley Ann Carney. Ava Karina Carrera. Dorothy Grace Castellini, cum laude. Wendy Marie Casterton. Mark Anthony Luciano Castillo. Brandon Marcus Chapman. Stephanie Starr Cherry, summa cum laude. Abigail Jolene Chu. Andrea Lynn Clark. Matthew Joseph Klaus, cum laude. Rebecca Jane Colavecchio. Christina Lynn Collins. Erin Marine Combs. Catherine Amelia Comer. Nicholas Sean Conway. Gregory Todd Cook. Anna Christine Cooper, magna cum laude. Brian Davis Cordell. Elisa Christine Corey. Lindsay Ann Cornelius. Babs Leanne Cowan. Jeffrey Mark Cowden. Shonda Michelle Crabtree. Antonia Marie Cucciara. Amanda Catherine Curley. Mary Catherine Curtin. Amanda Jean Dager. Darren Jerome Dantzler. Jill Cherie Davidian. Cynthia Mae Davis, cum laude. Kapika Lee Davis. Troy Anderson DeBoard. Matthew L. DeLeon. Andrew Webb DeMoss. Julia Marie Demsky. Matthew Joseph Dekoff. Jenny Leanne Dill. Matthew Patrick Din. Anna Renee Dinwoody. Andrew D. Ditto. Janae L. Dodson. Elizabeth Jean Donnellan, Jacob Adam Douglas, Courtney Jean Doyle, summa cum laude, Courtney Lee Driscoll, Kara Amanda Duckworth, Brandy Lee Easterday, Erin Renee Elam, Michael Don Elgin, cum laude, Megan Courtney Elliott, Natalie Diane Emge, Michael Stephen Emery, Elizabeth Catherine Ephraim, Megan Renee Eskew, Giovanni Patricio Espinosa, Jonathan Michael Fancher, Tamer Adam Farid, cum laude, Laura Marie Farrell, magna cum laude, Rondell Jerome Ferguson, Michael Christopher Field, Scott Garza Fisk, magna cum laude, Christopher Stephen Fitzgerald, Maria Lanense Flemings, Janice Martin Fletcher, Andrew Watson Florell, David Matthew Foster, James Robert Foster, Joshua Joseph Fraccaro, Scott Christopher Franson, Kimberly LaShawn Fraser, Stephanie Ann Freeman, Megan Marie Frauk, Eric Jobert Fruth, Craig Matthew Fugate, Dennis Michael Furr, Michael Philip Gabbard, Jill Ellen Garrison, magna cum laude, David Stephen Gawley, Jason Anthony Geringer, Catherine Forsell Gibbons, Catherine Dickens Gibson, Brian David Goad, Alana Ruth Gu, Catherine Rose Graham, Aaron David Grant, Jeffrey Arthur Grant, Courtney Marie Grass, Thomas McKinney Green, Tyler John Green, magna cum laude, Jennifer Ann Green, Belinda Ann Greer, Sarah Janian Grundon, cum laude, Alyssa Michelle Hackett, magna cum laude, Aaron John Hackman, Kirsten Jean Hejin, Michelle Ann Hahn, cum laude, Gretchen Christine Heist, cum laude, Susan Chase Hall, cum laude, Scott Michael Hamer, Leslie Joanna Hankins, Ben Clarkson Hardaway III, Andrew West Harley, Abby Lee Harrison, James Thomas Hart, Kendra K. Hatcher, cum laude, Amanda Marie Hathaway, Mariah Elizabeth Ann Hayden, Megan Michelle Hayes, Patrick Heath Hayward, Wesley F. Heatherly, Brooke Ashley Hefner, Rachel Allison Henry, Elisa Marlene Haytow, cum laude, Diana Suzanne Hill, Megan Elizabeth Hockley, Tiffany Ann Hodge, summa cum laude, Eric Douglas Hodges, magna cum laude, Jane Lynn Hodgkinson, Mark Allen Holloway, Tiffany Nicole Holmes, Julie Christine Houston, summa cum laude. Michael Ward Howland, Lisianne Huber, Emmy Lou Huffman, Michael Scott Holt, cum laude. Jarrett Kester Hunt, Mary Kathleen Hughes, Josephine J. Ilaraza, Catherine Lee Emborek, magna cum laude. Andrew Klain Irwin, Randall Ray Jackson, Denton Cunningham Jacobs, Allison Jacquet, Emily Jane Jacobson, Kyril Varil Hardinico, Jerry Wayne Jeffers II, Julie Ann Jenkins, cum laude. Rachel Marie Jensen, Jamar Leon Johnson, Marshall D. Johnson, Nicole Marie Johnson, Carrie Elizabeth Johnston, Tara Lynn Karash, Carissa Kay, Jeremiah Mitchell Kermis, Jens O. Kessler, Christopher Stephen Kiger, Daniel Patrick Kiley, Christopher Earl Knauer, Lauren Elise Knauer, Allison Marie Knowlton, Paul Matthew Koenigsdorf, Carrie Beth Caper, Justin Barnes Cobb, summa cum laude. Rebecca Sarah Konowitz, Sarah Abara Kopax, Nathaniel John Kopchik, Lindsay Brooke Corporal, Mary Catherine Kosinski, summa cum laude. Amy Lynn Kostrava, Sarah Catherine Kreutz, Rebecca Ann Krukowski, summa cum laude. Elizabeth Hartley Kerfus, Joshua Murray Lamb, David Gabriel Lamb, Jessica Lauren Lang, cum laude. Melissa Joy Lawler, cum laude. Julia Renee Ledbetter, Elizabeth Ann Commons Lee, Jason Michael Lee, Su Yang Lee, Elizabeth Massin Lewis, Sean Kelly Lewis, Trevor Wen Ling, Peter Jacob Little, Krista Sue Long, Nicole Natasha Long, Serena Joy Longyear, Frank Michael Losurdo, Nicole Pamela Lund, Jeffrey Charles Lyons, Daniel Clark Mack, Sarah Elizabeth Mackay, James David Mahoney, Andrea Jo Malams, Alfredo Marrero, Brenda Susan Matthews, cum laude. Casey Genevieve Matters, Erica Marie Matthews, magna cum laude. Ryan Thomas Mattingly, Kyle Wesley Maynor, Lara K. McCamick, cum laude. Jedediah William McClure, Jacqueline Lee McDaniel, Shelley Marie McDonald, magna cum laude. Jason Wayne McElroy, Catherine Kelly McGill, Renault Lamar McHenry. Christina Marie McElfresh. James John McKinney. Justin Ladd McNabney, summa cum laude. Adam Charles McNeely, magna cum laude. Kylie Joanne McQuinn, cum laude. Brian Patrick McVeigh, cum laude. Loretta Jean McVeigh. Stephanie Sue Mellenbrook. Arnolfo Mendoza Jr. Spencer Oliver Meng. Derek Edward Metz, cum laude. Timothy Morrow Miller. Zachary Aaron Miller. Brian Christopher Missy. Catherine Ann Modisette. Alicia Lee Modisette. Natalie Marie Moore, cum laude. Laura Bethany Mormon. Michelle Mary Morgan, magna cum laude. Todd Eric Morgan. Kristen Kelly Morris. Elliot Lewis Muller, summa cum laude. Megan Marie Mulford, magna cum laude. Meredith Keynes Mulvey. Elizabeth Jane Murphy. Shonda Jenny Najak, summa cum laude. Kina Kea Neff, magna cum laude. Kenda Haller Nelson. Francesca Maria Aida Nicosia, cum laude. Jennifer K. Nielsen, cum laude. Edmund Bernard Nightingale, summa cum laude. Joseph Henry Nixon III, cum laude. Rebecca Ann Nunemacher. Jennifer Nicole Nye. Sean Stephen Odell. Jessica Lynn Olson, summa cum laude. Lauren Elizabeth Olson, cum laude. Jordan Pressler Ortiz. Nana Orsay. Heather Christine Oster. Jacqueline Louise Overman. Matthew Horton Overman. Sarah Hodges Owsley, magna cum laude. Nicole Loman Pacino. Palak Manoj Pandya. Robert Spencer Perriam. Daniel James Parks, summa cum laude. Justin Lucian Lee Payne. Daniel Eugene Ferris. Morgan D. Phillips. Jessica Marie Pickerel. Jennifer Lee Polar. Benjamin Henry Pogue. Aaron Miller Pollack. John Patrick Porter. Aaron Roderick Quesada. Ana Marie Hernandez Quintero. Jason Bradley Rains. Gilbert Ramon. Jonathan Michael Rauch. Julie K. Reed. John Alexander Reich. Melissa Ann Reinke. Jessica K. Wrench. Francis Eugene Ray. Kimberly Ann Richardson. Matthew Henry Ricketts. Michael Dean Riley Jr. Samantha Jill Robbins. Heidi K. Ruckner, cum laude. Tiffany Diane Rodewald. Jesse Jean Rarick. Erin Lane Rogers. Renee Marie Rogers, summa cum laude. Timothy Ryan Rolfs. Nathaniel Thomas Romance. Michael Paul Rossi, cum laude. Carmelita Elaine Rouse. Lindsay Suzanne Rush. Sally Ann Rush. Lara Michelle Rutan. Courtney Martha Ryan. Daniel Joseph Sadowski. Rachel Rennick Salisbury. Kimberly Elizabeth Saul. Jennifer Wynne Sampson. Richard Matthew Sanchez. Georgia Greer Scanlon. Timothy Ann Schiffner, magna cum laude. Michael Jerome Schaffner. Kristen Gray Schultz. Lindsay Lee Schultz, magna cum laude. Sarah Crawford Schwartz. Catherine Gloria Scott. John Paul Seib. Catherine Lynn Sermersheim, cum laude. Tanya Serrano. Emily Ann Shagley. Carrie Michelle Shake. David Patrick Shanahan. Ann Bolt Schurer. Marilyn Marie Shepard. Tammy Jo Shirley. Jacob John Shoup. Stephen Andrew Silka, cum laude. Rose Curtin Silpayamanant. Andrew Thomas Simpson. Megan Marie Sin, magna cum laude. Anne Marie Scalarup, magna cum laude. Elisa Alden Slayton. Anna Comfort Smith. Garrett Judson Smith. Kara Beth Smith. Thomas Andrew Smith, cum laude. Nicholas Courtney Snyder. David Eugene Snyder II. Kristen Susan Snyder, magna cum laude. Lucas Anthony Snyder, cum laude. Brian Edward Sokolowski, cum laude. Christy Diane Soul. Kristen Marie Spellmeyer, magna cum laude. Jessica Aaron Sprunger. Jonathan Tyler Stallman, cum laude. Leah Lindley Stanfield. Jennifer K. Stanley, cum laude. Shireen M. Stark, cum laude. Rachel Lynn Starkey. Craig Eugene Stevenson. Stephanie Dawn Stevenson. Amber Christine Stewart. Allison Marie Stoller. Daniel Lemoyne Stotesbury. Paula Ann Summers. Elizabeth Dawn Eleanor Sund. John Alexander Svensson. Jacob Allen Swartz. Reem Munir Swace. Roy Jack Tollier, cum laude. Catherine Haynen Tapke. Jennifer Ann Tarbox, magna cum laude. Susan Emily Tarr. Rebecca Elise Tenzer. Christopher James Terhune, magna cum laude. Andrew Thomas Thayer. Dustin Matthew Thomas. Angela Beth Thompson. Jessica Suzanne Thompson. Molly Andrews Thompson. Erin Colleen Timmons, cum laude. Abigail Lynn Tonsing, Ellen Claire Topper, Eric Frederick Tracy, Larissa Sue Lynn Train, Anne Catherine Triplett, cum laude, Cassie Cordell Trueblood, Andrea Elizabeth Turpin, Catherine Drake Turrentine, Benjamin Dale Uphoff, Donald Andrew Vason, Darcy Lane Vanatta, Natalia Varsova, Kelly Ann Vaughn, Reed Christopher Vegler, cum laude, Ryan D. Venturi, Kristen Louise Wagner, Heather Mackley Walker, Roxanne Helene Walters, Catherine Ann Walton, Justin Stephen Warren, Amy Claire Watts, Jason Scott Weaver, Audrey Michelle Ware, magna cum laude, John Reynolds Wehrman, Esther Evangeline Welliver, Macy Elizabeth Wenzel, Grant Gilmore Whipple, Hillary Ann White, Michael Vaughn Whitesell, Tyra Michelle Whitaker, Anna Williams, Reginald Terrell Williams, Brian Michael Wilson, cum laude, Amber Renee Wolma, magna cum laude, Justin Charles Woodard, Barry Solomon Wormser, Cassandra Ann Wright, Devin Ferguson Wright, Rebecca Whitney Wright, Alexander Hilburn Yates, Nancy Christine Uring, Amy Catherine Yoder, Jennifer Lynn Yoder, cum laude, Jameson Andrew Young, cum laude, Michelle Lynn Ziegler.
Like the DePauw presidents who have held this office before me, I now read to you the same charge that has been read to graduating classes at DePauw for over 8 decades. I read it to you now because the message in this charge is as valid today as it was when it was first read. I would ask the members of the class of 2002 to please stand. In advancing you to your degrees, I have admitted you to the company of graduates of DePauw University and have made you members of the larger company of university graduates elsewhere. You have entered into a community entrusted with a noble inheritance. You have earned these honors. You are the heirs of all the past. Men and women of rich mind have labored, and you have entered into their labors. Prophets and sages, scholars and scientists, poets and public servants have wrought with patience, and the abundant fruit of their toil is yours. It is yours to use, to increase, and to bequeath to your successors. We welcome you into this fellowship of seekers after truth and servants of righteousness. In the name of those who have gone before you, and of your daughters and sons who are to follow you, The university charges you to be strong, to acquit yourselves with integrity, and be loyal to your highest ideals. So whatsoever things are true, whatsoever things are just, whatsoever things are pure, whatsoever things are lovely, whatsoever things are of good report, if there be any virtue, and if there be any praise, think on these things. We charge you to hold your degree so it suffers no harm in your holding it, to hold it for the honest service of others, to hold it with untarnished honor to yourself. And be seated. Without quality faculty, no university could perform its work. Today, we recognize 2 members of the teaching faculty who have provided the university with uncompromised effort in regard to the classroom experience. I'll present each of them a DePauw University citation which reads, "This citation is presented to you in recognition of your distinguished services as a teacher, scholar, counselor of youth, and loyal administrator, which have contributed greatly to the cause of higher education and to DePauw University." First, I would recognize Tony Cantonese, who has taught at DePauw University for 23 years as Professor Emeritus of Economics and Management. And now I'd like to recognize Marty Cantonese, who also has taught at DePauw for 23 years, Professor Emerita of Economics and Management. And now I'd like to take this opportunity to invite all of you to a reception honoring today's graduates. Because of rain, it will be behind the curtains in the podium. Obviously, we won't be going to Bowman Park today. So now let us stand for the benediction and the singing of a toast to DePauw.
Let us pray. O one who is truth, who is wisdom, who is the God of all peoples, as this important rite of passage draws to a close, we pause to give you thanks and to ask your blessing upon the graduates in their departure. We give you thanks for the faculty who have taught these graduates, not only with erudition, but also with passion. We give you thanks for the administration and staff who have provided these graduates with resources to have a life at DePauw instead of just a course of study. We give you thanks for fellow students who have worked and played beside these graduates and formed relationships that will last a lifetime. But most of all, we give you thanks for these graduates themselves. We celebrate the hard work and long hours that have brought them to this day. We celebrate the intellectual, emotional, spiritual, and physical growth that they have experienced during their time at DePauw. We celebrate that the adolescents who entered this community just a few years ago are sent forth today as adults who are accomplished in the arts, sciences, and humanities. And we celebrate the potential they have, not only for successful and satisfying careers, but for using the privilege of a quality education to make a radical difference in a broken world. As these graduates leave this university, go with them, bless their work, give meaning to their lives, and sustain them with your peace. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
and praise